So while I'm starting with this, I'm going to actually say I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting these forums and inviting LEF to share information about our community, about our organization with all of you. We're an esteemed company with Nancy White, who
I'm going to have some
and
chocolates.
CEO. Um, FYI, Nancy was actually my first mentor at the Lexington Education Foundation, so it's an honor to be here with her today, sharing information about two fabulous organizations in the Lexington community. I'm also joined by another wonderful mentor, my dear friend Janice, who graciously agreed to be my wing woman this morning. So I'm going to actually, well, I was initially going to speak here. I'm going to pass the microphone to her to start talking about this while I try to get this live for a minute. And
while she gets her, we thought that before we go to our actual slideshow, can you hear me? Does this work? Is that we had a little bit of a story that might exemplify LEF, and it actually culminates in an event 3 days ago. A year ago, there was the 10-member team, the sophomore English team at Lexington High School. Noticed that the sophomore curriculum was virtually all works by largely dead white males. There was very little diversity in a school in which 49% of the sophomores identify, for example, as non-white. And so, inspired by one of those teachers, Samantha St. Lawrence, they applied for and got a grant from LEF that would give them some time and resources over last summer to examine several possible books that were outside of the Eurocentric tradition, choose one that would be part of the curriculum, and create a curriculum unit for all sophomores around that book. So they got the grant. It was a modest grant. The book they chose was a book called Homegoing by Ya Jessie, who is a 28-year-old acclaimed Ghanaian American. She came here when she was like 2 or 3, I believe. And it's a remarkable book. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read it, but it basically starts with 2 half-sisters in Ghana, one of whom is married to the white sort of slave captain of something called Cape Coast Castle, I believe it is, and the other is sold into slavery, and it follows them through 300 years, generations, down through Ghana and through here. It's a very powerful book. We got it. Okay. Do you want to finish it? It's yours. Go for it. Okay.
So what happened is they actually, after applying for this grant, they were so invigorated and inspired about this selection, and they had a little bit of money left over because that occasionally happens. Not all the money is spent. They came back to LEF and they asked if they could use the leftover money to bring the author to Lexington to speak to the sophomore students. Now, what this posed a bit of a dilemma because we were off grant cycle. So what we did is we worked in collaboration with Lexington High School and the Lexington Community Education to make this happen. So Lexington High School used a part of their school community grant funds, which you'll find out a little bit more what that is, and LCE helped chip in, and so we did this in partnership together. So what ended up happening is that every sophomore was able to attend a talk with this remarkable author. She described what inspired her story, the writing process, the impact that this had, and answered dozens of students' questions. So it was really a moving experience. I was there. The kids were unbelievable. It was so great. They were so excited. And it was just wonderful to see their faces and how much they enjoyed this. What also happened, as Janice said, we also had this community talk in the evening. We had over 400 people. And so this shows how our grants can impact and inspire not only our students and teachers, but even the Lexington community and whole. So that's what we do. We want to be here to bring the community together, schools, businesses, students, teachers, families, to support, enrich, and strengthen the experience of the public education of our children. So what we do, we raise funds for education. CEL does pretty much everything else. And we use those funds to award grants to teachers and schools to explore and test new approaches to teaching and learning. We're really proud this year. We're excited that we expect to reach this milestone of $5 million awarded since 1989. And we hope everyone will be with us to celebrate at the end of the year when we hit that number. So we were established in 1989, and again, Nancy knows this, being a former LEF member herself. Our founding board of directors has transformed. Now today we're a board of directors of about 20. We try to stay true to what the original founding members wanted. We operate with 100% volunteer and one wonderful part-time employee, Jean, who many of you may know. So like CEL, why LEF? What's the need? We empower the teachers. They're frontline with our kids. They see what is needed, and because we're not tied to a rigid line item budget like the Lexington Public Schools well in advance, they can bring their ideas to us, and we can help bring them to fruition quicker. This ends up stretching your tax dollars and allows us to retain and
she's so worried
get
about what to say that she wants
fabulous
us to
teachers who
stop. It
want to
drives
work
me
in Lexington
crazy.
because it's a community that values education. So we have 3 types of grants that we give. Fellowships, program grants, and school community grants. Janice is going to talk a little bit about similarities and differences, give a glimpse into the process, and a few examples of some of these that you may or may not have known.
These are some of the kinds of things that our grants support. New approaches to teaching and learning within and across subjects. Some LEF grants involve teachers from multiple grades, multiple schools even. New uses of technology in the classroom. In fact, I believe that when LEF was founded, one of the spurring impetuses for founding it was to be able to test out some of the new technology in the schools. Is that right, Nancy? You go back.
I wasn't there in '89, but we definitely allowed them, the schools to test out a lot of technology before they bought it.
We fund a lot of professional learning opportunities that expand teachers' subject area knowledge and strengthen their teaching skills. And there's a focus on meeting the needs of all students. Lexington is renowned in particular for its extremely high-performing students, but there are kids all across the spectrum. And we provide support for teachers and counselors and others who are also working with kids who have learning challenges, behavioral challenges, and there are a lot of new English language learners. We work with them and even their families. Programs that help students manage stress and build resiliency and pro-social skills, and collaborations to build strong student-centered learning communities in each of Lexington's 9 schools. So a quick review of what our process is. First of all, you should know that our proposals are all unsolicited. They all come from teachers. So part of our job is to get the word out so teachers know about this. And this is one of the key roles of our School Partnerships Committee, of which Nancy was once vice president, and we worked for her. Applicants submit an application according to very specific guidelines that you can find on our website. And we have the school partnership team of school liaisons, and each member of the team is basically assigned to be liaison to the teachers and principal at a particular school. So they help guide them through the process, encourage applications, answer questions, and so forth. Then we have a grant review committee. It's a very rigorous review process. Our feeling is our funding is coming from our residents, and we want to make sure that the grants we give meet certain very important standards, and including the fact that there's a focus on a demonstrated educational need, and there's a promise of educational value and impact. Occasionally we get a few that are things like, gee, we'd love to have 100 iPads, and look at all the things we might be able to do with them. We need something that's more focused. Having said that, I think one key thing about our grant review is that we try very hard to not have applicants competing against one another for funding, that if they meet criteria, our goal is in fact to fund every proposal that presents a compelling case and that has the support of the appropriate important administrators behind it, has a reasonable budget. In the course of the review process, every applicant gets ample opportunity to answer questions, clarify points, and so forth. And I should mention that our latest review cycle actually launched yesterday when we got proposals coming in, rather flooding in, I believe, for fellowships and program grants, and so the next couple of months are going to be very busy. So we said there are three kinds of grants. Fellowships, which seem to be really on the rise, we're getting more and more of these proposals, are grants of up to $4,000 that go to individual teachers and staff. It could be counselors, could be school nurses, most of them are teachers, who receive grants to offset the cost of participating in some kind of structured professional development. This is not like a trip through Costa Rica. It has workshops, conferences, institutes, guided field studies where they're working under experts. And it has to be study that relates directly to their position. To give you just one or two examples, all 4 grade 4 teachers at Estabrook got fellowships. They got the same fellowship to participate. I think it was an Earthwatch expedition in the Indian Himalayas to learn how environmental change affects butterflies and bees. And one of the things they said to us afterward was that as 4th grade classroom teachers, they knew a lot about English and math and those basic studies, but none of them had a deep basis in science, and none of them had done science in the field. And this turned them into citizen scientists. And they came back with this knowledge and this excitement. They actually Skyped with their students all the way through the trip. They came back, they created new units, both on pollinators and the effects of climate change on pollinators, and also a new unit on India for the cultural unit. And so they now have the kind of skills and knowledge they can continue year after year to provide a depth of information and education they couldn't before. This is another fellowship that went to the Columbia Teachers College. We've given a lot of these fellowships to teachers. Some of them are kindergarten teachers, some of them are middle school and everything in the middle. Columbia Teachers College is renowned for an approach called Writer's Workshop that completely changes how kids learn to become really skilled and enthusiastic readers and writers by using what's called a workshop model, where they work together with their peers. They sort of work from authentic experience. Their teacher is more of a mentor. It's been resoundingly successful from all we've heard, and this gives a number of teachers a chance to go to Columbia in the summer for, I think they're about 4 days, 5 days, and bring back this. Okay, with program grants, this is when one or a group of teachers, again it can be within across classes, schools, whatever, develop and pilot new teaching methods, new curricula, educational materials, or technology. To give you one that spans actually many program grants, in the last few years we have gotten many requests that have to do with STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, particularly robotics. And so in the last few years, we have, for example, funded robotics programs at all 6 elementary schools. The first proposal came from a teacher at LHS and the students at LHS who were part of the robotics team to start after-school programs at 2 of the schools. They were received so warmly and so good they expanded it to all 6. And now they're trying to integrate it into the curriculum. At Estabrook, a 4th grade teacher found that there needed to be a mobile way to bring the makerspace concept to all the classrooms. So he got a grant to create a mobile makerspace. Both middle schools at different times in the last year or so have applied for grants to create makerspaces there. The most recent one at Clark, I think, was spurred by the librarian, and it's It's in a space in the library. And at the high school, we have funded equipping a dedicated R&D space that's open to everybody in the community, students, teachers, parents, and so forth. So what this has done is it's extended STEM to really every student and teacher in the schools.
Janice and I are doing tag team to keep everyone awake. Change up the voice. So the third type of grant is a school community grants, and the intent of this is to actually provide funds to every school within Lexington. Some of these are probably ones that you are more familiar with because they affect every student theoretically, and we really feel strongly that they do. So we added fellowships and school community grants to the mix about 15 years ago now. Because all grants were initiated by teachers, we don't know where they're going to come from. They could, and this was a way to kind of level the playing field and make sure that every school received funds. So a couple of examples of these that you may be aware, Project Adventure at Clark and Diamond Middle Schools was implemented as a fall day of team building exercises for all 6th grade teachers and students to ensure that there was a nice, easy transition, because we want to make things easy for our kids here in Lexington. We want them to have smooth transitions, and building community, and that's something that's been adopted in both schools' programs. Another example, more recent, is the Harrington School asked to use their money to make a space in their playground to have a quieter space for kids who don't maybe want to play on the swings and run around, and they just want a have quiet, reflective area. Many of our grants continue to have impact well beyond the first year. These are ones that are examples of those.
This is one of my favorite grants, I have to say. A few years back, a group of teachers at Bridge and Hastings Elementary Schools got a modest grant from LEF to create a handbook that would guide fellow teachers in helping their students develop executive function skills. Executive function skills are the sort of higher level skills that aren't fully developed until you're in your mid-20s, but they sort of start in elementary school, and that's the kind of skills that enable you to plan and carry out and stay on track with complicated projects, to avoid distractions, to focus. It's emotional regulation. It's a variety of critical skills. So they developed this. The handbook was so well received that the next thing they did was do a talk for all the parents at the school so they could bring this home. And then they started teaching it out to the other teachers in Lexington. And then the central office decided this was so compelling that they actually, for the next year, made executive function skill training for teachers a priority in the professional development budget. So one tiny grant to a few teachers ended up changing actually the priorities of the Lexington Public Schools. Another thing mentioned is one grant to one teacher reverberates. One of the things we actually expect of all teachers who receive grants, whatever kind of grant, is that they'll teach it out and they'll share it with others, especially within Lexington, but often beyond. One of the things that Carol Pilarski, just retired assistant superintendent, developed was a full day professional development program that's every fall called Lexington Learns Together. And every educator in the Lexington Public Schools, they come and they give each other workshops. Many, many of these workshops were things that were spurred by LEF grants. And then finally, this is another exciting one, where we say students reap the benefits of LEF grants awarded 5, 10 or more years ago as teachers share their knowledge with successive generations of learners. Carolyn Shield, who's a biology teacher at Clark, Nancy is nodding, 10 years ago got a fellowship to spend a month with research scientists studying the ocean floor of the Pacific at a point where 2 of the tectonic plates meet, and to go down in the submersible Alvin to study 2 worms on the floor. she describes this as the most exciting experience of her life. Since she came back 10 years ago, not only has she brought new knowledge to all of her students, she has infused generations of students with this. Some of her students, since she took this trip, have gone on to college to become marine biologists. She has formed an after-school ocean club that I went to a session of, and there were like 24 kids, pretty much evenly, boys, girls, who are deep into ocean science. And every year she does she has all her students reenact the Alvin dive in pitch black. We also saw this, pitch black and tiny hula hoops that represent how big the Alvin was, looking with their flashlights through portholes at life on the ocean floor. So this transformed her teaching for decades to come.
So we've launched many other programs, Big Backyard, I'm sure many of you have heard of, orchestrating kids through classics, mock town meeting, and much of the, when LEF was originally began, there was a need for digital, technology. And so the use of iPads and whiteboards in the classroom all began with LEF grants. Because our teachers are frontline and they see these needs, they can come forward and point a clear arrow to the direction needed. They're kind of see, they know what's happening live and come forward. So like a drop of water in a pond, it's an ongoing ripple effect. That one grant really makes a big difference within the year and beyond. So how do we do it? It's funded entirely through donations from Lexington residents and businesses. And tying in with how Nancy said, how you can help if you're so inclined. A couple of ways we do this. We have an annual celebration for education. Last year was the first year we had it at the Hayden Lower Field. We made it a 2-day event. Friday is a fun, free family afternoon for parents and children to attend. It was tremendous. We didn't even advertise it last year. We had a crazy number of people show up. It features international games, crafts, and activities, and is really to celebrate education and our diverse community. This year it's Friday the 15th at 3:30, and so thanks to snow days, it's not the last day of school anymore, so you all have to stick around for the following week. Come on over. Our fundraising the next night is the adult party, where we have live music, auctions, so we hope you can please join us there. If any of you are so moved and would like to be a sponsor or donate an auction item, please, we're not going to say no to that as well. Another way we raise funds besides our annual campaign is through the Star Awards. This is an opportunity for families to honor a teacher, a staff member, with a personalized Gold Star Award. And these actually mean a great deal to the teachers. Many of the teachers display them in the room. It's a small way you can help for $30, an individual Star Award, $60 for a team, for a teaching team. And you get to write a personalized message. They're delivered. They love them. We also just have some community events that we try to educate everyone about LEF. The Trivia Bee is a long-standing tradition. 22 years and it started, I think, originally as a trivia, as a spelling bee, but then that switched a bit. This year we first introduced, we have a trophy now that's going to go from winning team to winning team each year, and people were well received. People were pretty excited. As you can see, the winning team on the slide there from Clark. I should probably give them a shout out. Sorry, there's another B team there. If you have an opportunity, every year we have a grantee reception. The most recent grantees come in a room like this. It's at Cary Hall, and they share for a minute what they did with their grant. And you leave that room feeling so inspired and wishing you could do more and learn more. And it's just, you see the excitement on their faces and how they've hear stories of how they've brought this to their students, and it really emphasizes what a difference LEF makes. We have a few other community events that we've started this year, or the last 2 years, Unplugged. We try to participate in all the town events, the parade, Patriots Day Parade, Discovery Day, and this year we were at the Halloween Trick or Treat. So, how you can help? A gift to LEF is an investment in our community and our children. Attend one of our events, donate your time. Like CEL, we are 100% volunteer. We need always volunteers, whether it's an hour, a week, a lifetime. We're never going to say no, and there's something for everyone because there are a lot of needs. So if you'd like to learn more, there's some information. And thank you so much for, did we make it over 4 minutes?